everyone, Emily here from Clay Pit Pond State Park Preserve, and I'm going to be leading Storytime for you today. During Storytime, we sit quietly on the rug with our hands in our laps until it's time to move and sing together. Are you ready for Storytime? I see Iris is ready for Storytime, Fiona's ready for Storytime, George and Christine are ready for Storytime, Will is ready for Storytime, Teddy's ready for Storytime, Hunter's ready for Storytime, Jolie and Alice are ready for Storytime. Everybody's ready for Storytime. Let's sing the hello song. We clap and say hello, we clap and say hello. With our friends at Storytime, we clap and say hello. We wave and say hello, we wave and say hello. With our friends at Storytime, we wave and say hello. We stomp and say hello, we stomp and say hello. With our friends at Storytime, we stomp and say hello. Great job, everybody! This week is one of my favorite weeks of the whole year because this week there's a very special holiday called International Mud Day. It's on June 29th. So this week, all week, we're going to be sharing different activities that you can do to play in or learn about mud. We're learning about mud this week. Can you say mud? Say mud. Mud. Good job. Can you say mud slowly? Mud. Good job. Can you say mud quickly? Mud, mud, mud. Good job. Can you say mud really, really loud? Because I think that there might be a critter around here that lives in the mud, and he's hiding right now. If we say mud really, really loud, he might come out. Mud! I think I hear the critter. Here he is. Does anybody know what this critter is called? This is a Roly-Poly. Can you say Roly-Poly? Another word for a Roly-Poly is an isopod or a pilba. Roly-Polies are really cool. They have this special ability where when they get scared, they roll up into a ball. Do you want to pretend to be Roly-Polies together? Let's go. Okay, so Roly-Polies crawl around in the mud. Can you pretend to crawl around in the mud like a Roly-Poly? Good job. And then when a Roly-Poly gets scared, it's going to curl up into a ball. What would scare a Roly-Poly? Maybe something like a bird that might eat it. Tweet, tweet. Did you hear that bird? Roll into a ball. Good rolling, everybody. I don't hear the bird anymore. It might be safe to crawl again. Tweet, tweet. Oh, I heard a bird. Roll into a ball. Great rolling. Do you want to pretend to be another critter that lives in the mud? Do you know any other critters that live in the mud? I'm thinking of a critter that lives in the mud, and this critter just happens to be really, really wriggly. Do you know what critter I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of a wiggly worm. Let's stand up and pretend to be wiggly worms together. To be a wiggly worm, you want to put your feet together and then your hands together above your head. And then wiggle. Wiggle your whole body like a worm. Worms are so wiggly. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Good wiggling, worms. Worms and Roly-Polies both live in the mud, and they're both special types of animals called decomposers. Can you say decomposer? Decomposers eat dead things that they could find on the ground. Roly-Polies in particular like to eat dead wood, like from dead logs that they might find on the ground, and they like to eat dead leaves and other dead things that they find on the ground. So this Roly-Poly, let's pretend, is eating some dead leaves. And then after he eats, he has a very important job for nature. The Roly-Poly's job is to go to the bathroom. Oh my gosh, ew! Well, this is actually really important in nature because when the Roly-Poly goes to the bathroom, and when any decomposer does, they're helping to break down those stinky dead things and turn them into soil so that new things can grow from that soil. So let's pretend like we're a Roly-Poly and we're crawling around and we're eating dead leaves, and then you can make a funny bathroom noise like the Roly-Poly because that's its most important job. Good job, good job. Okay, since Roly-Polies are so important, let's sing a song about Roly-Polies to honor them and their important job as decomposers. In this song, we're just gonna sit on the rug and we're gonna roll our arms like this. I'm gonna say, Roly-Poly, Roly-Poly. And when I say that, I want you to roll your arms just like this. Can you roll your arms like this? Good job. After I talk about Roly-Polies, I'm gonna give you an action word that's gonna tell you to do something. The first thing I'm gonna tell you to do is put your hands up, 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 up. After I tell you to put your hands up, I'm gonna give you some Roly-Polies again, and then I'm gonna tell you to do the opposite of putting your hands up. The opposite of putting your hands up would be to put your hands down. Down, 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 down. Okay, so we're gonna sing this Roly-Poly song with opposites together now. Ready? Roly-Poly, Roly-Poly, up, 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 up. Roly, Roly-Poly, Roly, Roly-Poly, down, 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 down. Roly-Poly, Roly-Poly, out, 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 out. Roly, Roly-Poly, Roly, Roly-Poly, in, in. Roly-Poly, Roly-Poly, fast, 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 fast. Roly, Roly-Poly, Roly, Roly-Poly, slow, 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 slow. Great job! Now it's time to use the felt board. Can everybody sit down on the rug while I use the felt board? What do I have on the felt board here? Muddy pigs. How many muddy pigs do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 little pigs rolled in the mud. Squishy, squashy, squishy, squashy, felt so good. The farmer took one piggy out. Oink, 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 that pig did shout. Now how many muddy pigs do we have on the board? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 little pigs rolled in the mud. Squishy, squashy, squishy, squashy, felt so good. The farmer took one piggy out. Oink, 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 that pig did shout. Now how many muddy pigs do we have on the board? 1, 2, 3. 3 little pigs rolled in the mud. Squishy, squashy, squishy, squashy, felt so good. The farmer took one piggy out. Oink, 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 that pig did shout. Now how many muddy pigs do we have on the board? 1, 2. 2 little pigs rolled in the mud. Squishy, squashy, squishy, squashy, felt so good. The farmer took one piggy out. Oink, 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 that pig did shout. Now how many muddy pigs do we have on the board? 1. 1 little pig rolled in the mud. Squishy, squashy, squishy, squashy, felt so good. The farmer took one piggy out. Oink, 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 that pig did shout. Now how many muddy pigs do we have on the board? 0. No more muddy pigs. Bye, muddy pigs. Bye. All right, now we're going to sing one more song before the end of story time. And in this song, we're going to pretend like we're jumping in muddy puddles. My favorite part about the mud. So everybody stand up with me. I'm going to pretend like the middle of the Storytime rug is a muddy puddle. Can you pretend like the middle of your floor is a muddy puddle? Wow, it looks really squishy and messy. My favorite kind. So I'm going to sing a song about walking around the puddle, jumping in the puddle, splashing in the puddle, and shaking off the mud. And I want you guys to do it with me. Ready? Walking round the puddle, walking round the puddle, walking round the puddle, let's jump in. Jumping in the puddle, jumping in the puddle, jumping in the puddle, spin, spin, spin. Splashing in the puddle, splashing in the puddle, splashing in the puddle, spin, spin, spin. Shaking off the mud, shaking off the mud, shaking off the mud, that's the end. Great jumping and splashing, everybody. I hope that this week you get a chance to actually splash in a muddy puddle. What do you need to make mud? 2 ingredients. The first ingredient is soil, which the Roly-Poly and the worm help to make. The next ingredient that you need to make mud is water. When you put soil and water together, you get mud. So if it's a dry day and you don't see any muddy puddles around, you could spray some water and make your own. The playing in the mud is really, really good for children and for everybody because the mud is a great way to work with your hands. It can help you to learn how to clean off your hands. It can help develop fine motor skills. And the mud also has a bacteria in it called Mycobacterium vacci. This bacteria helps stimulate the immune system and it helps promote serotonin in the brain. So it can relax you and it can make you feel more happy. So playing in the mud is really, really good for you. We're going to be posting activities that you can do in the mud all week long, and they're really great activities that you could do at home. We hope that you do them. If you don't want to make a mud pit at your house, you're welcome to come for a hike at Clay Pit Ponds, a socially distant hike, of course, and when you get here, you could roll over some logs and look for critters that like to live in the mud. When you roll over a log to look for critters that live in the mud, make sure that you roll the log back over when you're done. The reason you want to do that is because a lot of critters that live under the logs need to stay moist most of the time. So if you roll the log over, but then you don't roll it back over, it's going to get all dried out, and then those critters won't be able to live there anymore. That will be sad. So I hope you learned a lot about the mud and decomposers that help us make the mud this week. Remember to stay tuned on our Facebook page, and you're going to find a lot of different activities that you can do in the mud and more information about the history of International Mud Day and why playing in the mud is so great. Are you ready to sing the goodbye song? We clap to say goodbye, we clap to say goodbye. With our friends at Storytime, we clap to say goodbye. We wave to say goodbye, we wave to say goodbye. With our friends at Storytime, we wave to say goodbye. We stomp to say goodbye, we stomp to say goodbye. With our friends at Storytime, we stomp to say goodbye. Great job, everybody. I'll see you next week.